It's time now for a deeper dive into all things business with our Insiders panel. Northern Indiana, specifically the Elkhart region, the RV capital of the world. Manufacturers and suppliers in the region are showing really no signs of slowing down, even in the face of supply chain issues and inflationary pressures. For more on that and lots of other business news making news around the state, pleased to be joined by our Insiders this week, Indiana GOP Director of Diversity and Engagement, Whitley Yates. Also, Ball State economist, Mike Hicks, and VOX Global Managing Director, Mike Marker, and welcome one and all to the Insiders. Whitley, and to you, a first-timer. So
thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Great to have you here. We're going to start with the economy, and we'll defer to the economist among us. First of all, the RV industry, you would think with fuel prices, inflation, all the challenges, supply chain, that they would really be hit hard. But numbers just came out last week showing double-digit increases in production and I think sales.
Yeah, I mean, shocking. They were up in 2021 by 200,000 or 40% over where they were in 2019. Just a fantastic year. You would kind of think with inflation, you know, gas prices, fear of interest rates increases, they'd be shrinking. But no, they're moving along, have seemed to have fixed the supply chain problems. Labor shortage for them is a big deal, but I think they're going to have a great year.
The RV industry as an indicator of what's ahead, how does that?
I mean, I've thought the RV industry is a pretty good indicator of both good and bad times, and right now they're saying the economy is going to be sustained growth for the next 18 months or so. Yeah. So that portion of the economy is performing really well despite the fears of inflation, and of course interest rates are likely to put a damper on housing markets this year, and we don't know about war in Ukraine, what other sort of shenanigans that may inflict on the global economy. But right now, if you look at the basics, we're moving along fairly well.
Yeah, Whitley, as you look at the economy, certainly it's always a big issue. Heading into this election cycle coming up, how big an issue will the economy be, in particular here in Indiana?
Yeah,
in your view?
Let's be honest, it's going to be a #1 issue. I think that it's interesting the RV industry is doing so well while other industries are not, but maybe the Great Resignation has led people into getting on their RVs and having more leisure time. When it comes to this next election, I think the economy will be top on the list, specifically here in Indiana. How inflation and interest rates are impacting Hoosiers on a daily basis is going to be top of the ticket, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with the economy, I'm thrilled the RV industry is doing well. I do agree, Whitley, that they have a lot of money, still a lot of consumer spending power out there, and they're deciding to spend more on experiences, right? And so even though inflation's there, even though gas is going up, people are saying, I want to go out and enjoy myself, and I'm going to do that through an RV, and that's good for here in the state economy.
Yeah, your workforce continues to be a big issue, and finding workers. We were talking before we started taping here, the unemployment rate in Elkhart County has doubled, and it's still under 2%. So very low employment or unemployment. And as you look at Indiana attempting to attract these big economic development projects to get people to move here, Dave Ricks, the CEO at Lilly, had some interesting comments now a couple of weeks ago, talking about Indiana doing well in these traditional metrics of business climate and taxation and those types of things, but some of these other issues, workforce skilling up, the workforce, healthcare costs, hidden costs of doing business don't do very well at all. And it was kind of and I'll start with you, Whitley, to me, it was like a warning sign from the business community that Indiana needs to get its arms around these issues.
Well, what I found interesting is that some of the areas in which that he spoke about we're already working on. When you look at the budget, when you look at the investments that the state is currently making, whether that be in education, whether that be in upskilling workers, we're already putting the investments and creating that culture to bridge the gap on some of these things. And I think it was, just the canary in a coal mine type of a situation, because we've already put in place steps to go ahead and mitigate some of the things that he was speaking about.
Yeah, so. Mike, when a CEO, a high-profile CEO like that says that, does that bring a little more weight to the debate or the discussion?
Absolutely. I mean, if you read James Briggs' column last week, he points out that the economists around the country pointed out the challenges Indiana has in attracting and retraining well-educated workers. We're 44th in degree completion and retention in the country. That's a long-term problem for a company like Lilly. If you're processing tomatoes, it's not a big issue. If you want to be a high-tech, high-pay industry, Indiana has really got a big hill to climb on that area. And his comments, I think, awakened Hoosiers to that problem.
Yeah, I have a slightly different perspective on that. I do agree that some of the points he made are valid points. We do need to be better. We do need to be more competitive. But when we look at education and worker career paths, I just noted that he made these comments at the Economic Club at a time when Lilly stock was trading at $300 a share, up from $40 a share over the last decade. So they've made a lot of money. They've taken advantage of tax breaks as well. And I would put it back on Lilly and other employers, or how are you going to engage in the process? And I think there's a tremendous example in our state with Cook Medical Group who is doing that and investing significantly. So it's not going to happen just with policymakers, and it's not just going to happen in metro areas around the state to get it done. We're going to need employers, and Lilly's going to need to play an important role in that.
To kind of dovetail off Whitley's comments, Mike, things are being done. I think there are things being done. Is it a case of it's going to take time for this to happen, or does there need to be more of a sense of urgency around these issues?
I think the bottom line is we're spending about 15% less now per student in K through 12 than we were 12 years ago in inflation-adjusted terms. And so, Lilly moved a factory to North Carolina, which boosted their stock prospects. Yeah, it's an urgent problem right now. It's something the legislature has to take up. It's going to take a decade or two to turn around. And the longer we wait, the worse the outcome's going to be, and the longer the remedy.
And one other note on that, they moved that plant to North Carolina, who has in the 20% in terms of folks with 2- and 4-year degrees.
Absolutely.
So we are outperforming North Carolina where the jobs went.
That's not true.
It is.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not. In the area that they moved to has higher educational attainment than any area in Indiana. All right, fine. If you're Western Hills of North Carolina, don't matter, just like East Central Indiana is not going to be a place to attract these types of firms. Cities, counties that outperform others with terms of educational attainment are growing. That's why Indy is growing, is picking up about 130% of the job growth of Indiana over the last 20 years.
Global spotlight on Indiana. We see more and more international trade trips. The governor, secretary of commerce have taken 2, I think, in the last 2 months. Later this month, May 26th to the 29th, the first global economic summit to be held here in Indianapolis. They've capped registration at 800. They didn't know how this would go. They've got 24 ambassadors, I think, from around the globe, former CEO of Google and others. Whitley, in your view, the whole idea, I guess, is to bring the world to Indiana.
Yes.
What does this represent in terms of what Indiana can gain from this summit?
This is something that I think we should all be excited about. I think that putting us on the map as a prospect and leader in global economics, especially after the comments of the CEO, is important. I think Governor Holcomb has made it a priority to say that he's going to bring Indiana to the world and bring the world to Indiana. And I think that this is the next step in doing that. And so having the convening of such high, powerful, impactful, spheres of influence within the economic realm and within all of these top businesses is important for Indiana.
Yeah, and the governor and the IDC have now ticked off 5 consecutive years of record-breaking direct foreign investment. So a great story there. And I think a lot of the reasons you're seeing these delegations come over here, 30-plus countries, are because they want to be a part of that. So I think it's going to be probably the single biggest week on the international stage for us with this kind of summit, bookended with the Indianapolis 500 and the international reach of that. It's a really exciting time. I agree with Whitley.
Mike, your take on Indiana's position on the global stage. They've had some economic successes, to be sure, some economic development successes globally coming over here to have this event that typically you see these kinds of things on the coasts, not in the middle of the
Right. Well, I mean, let's be honest. Indianapolis shows really well. So it's a smart move to bring people here to show them in a beautiful spring weekend what Indiana has to offer. So that portion of the event here is going to be, I think, very important for the state. Kudos to the governor for getting this done. I hope it really helps jumpstart the investment in this area. We've done well in some of these where GDP growth still lags nationally, but those are important things. And again, I think Indiana shows really well, and it's important for this sort of work to be done. Low cost, high impact activity.
And I'm noting that Mike Hicks guaranteed that the race weekend will be a beautiful weekend. So we're going to check on that. Hey, very quickly, and Mike, I'll throw it to you. Thad Matta returns to Butler. A lot of people kind of surprised at that. Can he bring the Bulldogs back to the?
I think so, and I think it starts with just the adherence to the Butler way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy has a tremendous track record, lots of Final Fours in his background, too.
Very good. Will be fun to watch that play out. Mike Hicks, Mike Marker, Whitley Yates, thank you all for joining us, and we'll be right back after this.